Bone Lake is directed by Mercedes Bryce Morgan, and it follows a couple who vacations at this really nice big house by the lake when all of a sudden another couple shows up there saying that they have also booked this house for this time period. Oh, well, you seem nice enough. Why don't we just share the place? I'm sure nothing bad will happen. It's kind of like Speak No Evil in that you have one couple constantly pushing the typical social boundaries, seeing how far they can go with the other couple, but in a more sexual manner. And I saw this at an early screening. It comes out later this week. There's not going to be any spoilers here, no worries. But if you want Speak No Evil, but less dark, even less dark than the American version, and more sexy, then this is a pretty fun horror thriller. The lead characters are played by Maddie Hasson and Marco Pagasi, and they do a really good job at making this feel like a pretty grounded couple who definitely has their issues that the other couple is going to exploit. And it leads to a lot of awkward tension and also comedy when all of their little issues are brought to the surface. You just see these like small expressions on one of their faces when they say something they don't quite mean, and you see easily through their performances exactly like what the issues are between them, how long they've been going on, and how these things need to be addressed. They're believable as people who do love each other, and you can see their relationship working out should they overcome all of this, but there's also enough tension there to where it's kind of rocky. It's kind of uncertain whether or not it's gonna work out in the end. And I was also really distracted the entire time by how much Maddie Hasson looks like Florence Pugh. She even has the Yelena haircut here. And as for Marco Pagasi, listen, Hispanic Jason Bateman. Am I wrong? But the other couple is played by Alex Rowe and Andra Nachita, and they also do a good job of not really making it clear how far they're willing to take things. They're clearly overly friendly, they're a little bit pushy, a little bit nosy and prying. They're clearly trying to make something happen in a sexual manner with the other couple, but is that all they want? Just how far are they trying to take this, and why? And so, you know, you're watching a horror movie, you know that they're not just gonna have the nicest of motivations, but it still comes through in their performances where you're not quite sure exactly how fucked up they might be. They do a good job of being pretty clearly somewhat sinister while also having that air of like, no, you're just misunderstanding me. Like you could believe that somebody could maybe fall for their trickery. So the tension is really good as one couple pushes the other further and further. You get a lot of decent comedy out of that just in some of their reactions, because the things these people do are so absurd that you can't help but kind of like stare at them wide-eyed. Like how could you do that? What were you thinking when you did that or said that? And so you see these reactions and you're like, yeah, I don't know what I would say to that either. I think I would just get the hell out of here. And I really like a lot of the choices in the script with how the main characters behave. Of course, they have their issues. They don't know they're in a horror film. They're not gonna catch on to how fucked up everything is right away. But as the story goes on and you start to get to the point where you're like, all right, you gotta realize something is going on here. Like their decisions get smarter and smarter. They do competent things that you would actually want them to do, that you would imagine you might do in that scenario. There's not a lot of blood and gore. There's only 4 characters in the movie. There's not a lot of room for that to happen, but when you do get some of it, it's really good. It looks great. There's one moment in particular that's surprisingly really brutal, and a lot of it is going to depend on how good the third act is. It's a lot of build up, so the payoff has to be worth it. And the third act was one of the most fun and intense parts of the movie. That's when the reveals come out, the masks are off, and we're just gonna let loose, and that's one of the craziest best parts of the movie. I will say until then, I was a little bit more mixed on how I was feeling about the movie. I liked it, but it did feel very like, I know what's happening here, even if I don't know all the details about exactly how far this couple is going to go. There's only 4 people in the movie. It's a very simple setup. We have a very good general idea of what's going on and where it's going. So it's not like it's full of surprises, but you have the performances, the comedy, the tension, and that eventual third act payoff that does make it worth it and elevates it a little more for me. I don't like using rating systems, but the third act bumped it up from what could have been like a 6 to probably more like a 7. Like the payoff made it worth it. And when you get all the details, you find out who these people are, what their motivation is. It is something that I guessed, but it was a really good idea for the story, and it actually made it more fucked up and made their motives a little more interesting than I thought they would be. It would have been easy to be super generic with that, have people just messing with people because they like to do it. They get off on it. What the hell? But they go a darker, weirder route with it that I really liked. The only other thing I can say as a negative is there's one needle drop in particular that I wasn't really a fan of. There was a scene that could have been intense, but they played a really fun song on top of it, and it just was kind of distracting to me, kind of prevented me from getting into that scene. The movie's trying to be sexy and funny and lighthearted at times. It's not taking itself the most seriously, so I get it, but it still felt mostly grounded and real, and the stakes felt like they were there. That one song in that one scene was the time where I felt, that's pushing it a little too far. You're taking it into like full-blown comedy territory with that song, and I didn't quite need that. Other than that, I enjoyed this. I haven't seen anything else that this director has done, but I'm definitely looking forward to her future because I thought she did a really good job here. It's really good looking, especially towards the end. There's this one scene where I really enjoyed the lighting. There are some cool directorial choices, and with the editing when it comes to transitions and passage of time and stuff like that, there are some really cool shots, and so I want to see more from her. I thought she did a good job here. It's not the best horror movie of the year or anything. It's pretty simple, straightforward, but if you know what you're getting into, it delivers a pretty fun time with that premise. It doesn't go as far as something like Speak No Evil, either version, with like, oh my god, I can't believe they're doing this, but it's still fun for what it is, and it has its own tone, it has its own identity. I enjoyed it. I hope you check it out when it comes out later this week. If you have seen it, leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Whether you agree or disagree with anything that I said, I would love to talk further about the movie with you down there. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more from me. I appreciate it, and I hope to see you next time.